How is it that some entrepreneurs make consistent progress toward their goals month over month with ease, while some set goals and forget about them 2 weeks later? Well, it's all down to this one habit that takes less than 15 minutes a week, and when I first started doing it a few years ago, it completely changed my business forever. It hasn't just worked for me, it's worked for every single one of my clients at selfmastery.co as well. So in this video, I'm going to show you what this one weekly habit is and how to use it to make consistent progress toward your business goals. So what is the habit? Well, I'm going to be honest, it's actually not anything revolutionary. You'll have heard of this habit before, but I can guarantee you two things. One, that you don't do it, and two, the way you've done it in the past has been wrong or overcomplicated, and that's why you've never actually stuck to it or seen benefits from it. And if you want to actually make progress week on week so that your business is growing and you're actually enjoying your life a bit more, this is crucial because this is exactly how you change what's bad and keep what's good. But to explain just how important the habit is, I want to tell you about back in the day when I used to compete in weightlifting. So I used to compete in the sport of weightlifting where you do a snatch and a clean and jerk. I won a British weightlifting championship, a ton of Northern Irish championships, held a few records, all the rest, right? So I would hang around with some of the best weightlifters and strongest people in the whole of the UK and Northern Ireland. And there were two things that we all did. One, we followed a training program. So, we weren't just walking into the gym and randomly doing whatever we wanted. No, that is a one-way ticket to not only making zero progress, but in a strength sport where your CNS is getting battered from the load you lift, it's a one-way ticket to breaking your body down. So everyone had a set program to follow where you go in and you do this lift for this amount of reps, for this many sets at this weight. And over the weeks, by following the program, your technique improved. You got stronger and you could lift heavier weights. The second thing we did was auto-regulate. So if you're a natural lifter, i.e. you're not on steroids, which, complete side point, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing steroids if you know what you're doing, you get the blood work done, etc., etc. But if you are natural, your recovery index ability to recover is actually pretty low, especially in a strength sport where fatigue is much more likely to build up. You shouldn't really be training more than 5 days a week, which gives you 2 rest days every week. Now, the best lifters I know auto-regulate these rest days, and what that pretty much means is they listen to their body. They take the rest day when they feel like they need it. So some weeks you might train 5 days in a row, then take 2 days off. Some weeks you might train 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, or whatever it is, all based on how you feel. This way you were essentially each week adapting and adjusting to maximize and optimize your current situation. Now, the habit you need to do every week to change your business forever is not working out. Although, obviously you should be doing that, but it does follow the same 2 points, and it's a weekly planning session. Oh, I know, how revolutionary, Ross, amazing. How could you ever come up with something so game-changing? But jokes aside, seriously, if you don't do a weekly review, a weekly planning session, you're like the countless weightlifters I know who never followed a program and therefore never made progress and never adapted to their situation and hence completely burned out. But if you do it, you're going to be doing something that every single elite entrepreneur on the planet does. There is not a single one of them that doesn't review their past week and plan their coming week. And so right now I'm going to show you the 2 parts to doing a weekly planning session that I use with my clients to make insane progress and maintain high levels of productivity so that you can finally start to see results faster. And the first part is what I call the audit. This is where you look back and review your past week, but there's a very specific way you have to do this if you want it to actually work. I'm going to give you the framework for it right now, but first, I do recommend doing this on a Sunday evening, as I think that just makes, the most logical sense for when to do a weekly review. But of course, you can do it whenever you want to do it. And these questions which are included in the framework are obviously generalized because, this is a YouTube video. I can't give you specific advice in a pre-recorded video. So please feel free to adapt these to your specific situation, but do maintain the general direction of the question because they're not there for no reason. And really with this audit, we only have 4 questions. So you want to get out a notebook to answer these and think through them purposefully. And you also might want to get out your calendar for your past week so you can look back on it and refer to it when answering the questions. And the first question is this: what went well and should be repeated? It's as simple as that, right? What went well? Why did it go well? Maybe you had a sales call that went really well because you prepared a lot for it, or maybe you had a piece of content that went viral because you put extra effort into the hook. Or maybe you had a general feeling of productivity and usefulness over the week because you decided to front load your days with your hardest tasks. Whatever it is, right? The main thing is that you identify what you liked about last week. This way you can do it again next week. Question 2, what did not get done? I often find when my clients come to me that there's always a few tasks that they never get completed on their to-do list, and they just, keep putting it off to tomorrow. And, the next thing, it's Sunday, the entire week is passed and that task still isn't done. But here's the funny thing about this, right? I find with both myself and my clients, more often than not, if I put a task off for 3 days, so if, on Monday I say I'm going to do it on Tuesday, and then on Tuesday I say I'm going to do it on Wednesday, that task more often than not doesn't actually need done. It is some pointless task that I've added for no reason that, sure, it might add some benefit, but it's not a lever moving task. It's not actually important, and my business would still grow without doing it. So when you're asking yourself what didn't get done and you've written out the list of all the things you didn't complete, ask yourself another question here. Does this really need done, or can I forget about it? Most of the time you'll find what you put off is actually just a pointless task that you can forget about. But if it is a task that needs done, you need to make it your priority on Monday to just get it done and dusted so that you can close that loop. Question 3, what did you not like about last week? Now, you might find there's no answer here. You might have actually enjoyed everything you did last week, and that's great. But maybe you didn't like that you had to do a team call at 11 a.m. And so now you can make a rule that you don't take any team calls or any calls at all before lunch. Or maybe you didn't like that you lay in bed wondering if this is all going to work out. And now you know you need to massively build up your own self-belief and confidence. The idea with this question is to simply identify what you didn't like about your week so that you can change it, because there's zero point in doing things that worsen your life. Question 4, what wins did you have? This is probably one of the most impactful questions that you can ask, because often we don't realize we did have any wins. And so if you don't sit down to reflect on them, you'll just keep going through the weeks thinking you're not making any progress, simply because you're not looking for the progress. And these wins can be anything, big or small. With my clients, I get them to fill out a weekly wins form every week, both for my purposes to see how they're getting along and also for their own purposes for this very reason. I once had a client whose win one week was that he signed $1 million deal, but the week before it was that he had a consistent sleep schedule and in turn felt much higher energy. So your wins can be anything. The main thing is that you're identifying them and stacking them, and actually on that last point, this will in turn massively boost your confidence and self-belief. Now, doing the review is all well and good. Okay, it's brilliant, and you need to do it because you need to reflect. You cannot make a change if you do not identify what needs changed. This review, this audit, is how you identify what needs changed. But if you do not combine it with this second part, the planning session, it is quite literally pointless, because this is how you implement the things you learned from the review to make better and faster progress. Part 1 identifies what needs changed. Part 2 is the act of changing it. And again, this is really simple, but all the best things are. If you overcomplicate it, you won't stick to it, you won't get results. So I like to keep it simple, and there's only 3 steps to this. The first is a question you have to ask yourself. And that question is, what is the one thing you need to focus on this week to move your business forward? Whatever this thing is, whether it is finishing building out a landing page, hiring a new team member, fixing a certain bottleneck, or changing how you schedule your day, that is the most important thing you can do this week. So have that as a priority and focus on it, because if you do it, you will move your business forward. The second step is what is set in stone. So every week, you live a life, obviously you also run a business. So there's going to be a few things which are just set in stone and can't really be moved. Whether it is calls, appointments, dinner with your partner, or taking the kids to school, etc., whatever it is. It is crucial to get clear on what these things are so that you can do the third step correctly, because the third step is scheduling. Now, I've made entire videos on how I recommend scheduling your days and weeks for peak mental performance and productivity. So I'll not go too deep into it in this video, and I'll link that video at the end if you want to check it out. But there is a few things you need to do when scheduling, no matter how you choose to schedule. The first thing you need to do is schedule that which is set in stone. So all those things you identified in step 2, which are set in stone, your appointments, your calls, etc., schedule them, because this creates the sort of skeleton framework for your week that you can then build around. The next thing is to look at your answers from the review. What did you like about last week? What went well? Whatever it is, when you're scheduling, try to replicate it as much as possible. What did you not like about last week? Whatever it is, when you're scheduling, try to change it as much as possible. What did not get done last week that needs done? Whatever it is, schedule it as a priority, which, as a rule of thumb, if you're making something a priority, you schedule it earliest in the day and earliest in the week. So you would do it at 6 a.m. Monday morning. Get it done and dusted out of the way. You close that loop, you don't have to worry about it anymore. And then whatever the one thing you need to focus on to move your business forward is, break it down into its components if needed. Sometimes that one thing is a bigger sort of project with multiple parts, and if it is, schedule each part of that one thing into a certain day so that you can focus on doing it each day and in turn moving toward your goals. Of course, sometimes it is a single task, and in that case, just plan to get it done on Monday. Now, that is a quick overview of how to implement your weekly review so that you can actually make progress, because how can you expect anything to change if you don't first identify what needs changed and make the damn change? But if you want a deeper dive into the intricacies of scheduling for mental performance, productivity, and progress, check out this video right now.